to accelerate the circular transition. For this, I'd like to welcome my colleague Antonio Betancor. And Antonio, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Felipe. Well, I mean, the protagonist will come after me, so I will be very short since I just want to give a brief introduction on what this means also for the CCRI, because as you know, it's been 4 years for the CCRI, and we've been moving forwards. We've been doing quite some different workshops over the years, and we've always tried in a way to adapt to what we thought that the needs of the circular economy were at a particular point. And I mean, 4 years ago, probably when we started, we didn't even know what AI was or ChatGPT or Copilot. And nowadays, it's probably a crucial part of our lives and particularly of our work. So this also kind of applies as well to the circular economy. And this was a bit the reasoning that we were doing before thinking about this workshop. So yeah, we've been gathering expertise and building networks over the last year particularly. And I think from the CCRI, we're now ready to showcase some key solutions that the circular economy needs, and particularly the policymakers that work hand in hand with the circular economy also needs. We were talking about the integration of regional and city-led initiatives with digital platforms, and also the validation of AI-powered tools in real-world contexts. More of them that we will see later, because we think that this workshop can also be an opportunity for all of those pilots and fellows and policymakers overall that we have in this call to strengthen the collaboration with innovators that we have invited to participate in this workshop. So in the end, it's not only for our partners and projects that we have here to showcase what is their work, but also for you, for the cities and the regions that we have here to see which are the different ways in which you can bridge that gap that we have probably nowadays between ambition and practical impact. We know that sometimes it's kind of hard to think in paper and then put it in practice. So in order to unlock this, let's say, the potential of all the digital technological advancements that we've done, it's probably a good place to be here. So as you know, since we have decided to come up with this workshop, we will be giving the floor very soon to some of our partners and CCRI projects that we have here to showcase some very interesting digital solutions. And also, we will be invited to the floor to hear a bit of experience of one of our CCRI pilots, which we have here in Maribor from Slovenia. We have Igor, sorry, and probably he will be delighted to not only tell what they've been doing recently with this digital solutions, particularly AI as well in the region, but also what are the main needs that they've also identified recently, and that obviously they could be much improved in the future. So thank you, Felipe, for giving me the floor, and whenever you want, we can give it a start with our participants.
Yeah, thank you, Antonio, for that introduction. Now I'd like to welcome our very first speaker, Babis, who will present the Theseus project, which is part of the Hubs for Circularity initiative. So Babis, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. It's great that you organize all these webinars. From our side, I will try also to be brief, because I remember that we have 7 minutes in order to keep the line. So just a brief comment. Hub for Circularities are a concept arising from the industry and coming to the regions and to the cities. On the other hand, CCRI is coming from the cities to the other parts of the region. So we meet in the middle, and we both have systemic approaches on how we will integrate the circular economy within the region. So let's go to the next slide, please. Just a brief introduction. I am a researcher in the Institute of Communication Computer Systems in the National Technical University of Athens. Next slide, please. Very briefly, especially we are in the iSense research group. We are professional researchers, and we are for more than 15 years, we are developing digital solutions and other smart system solutions in order to address environmental and other domains. Next slide, please. Thank you. So a quick overview about Theseus, which is one of our biggest programs. Started almost 1 year ago. It's a hub for circularity. Just for a quick introduction, initially we had the industrial symbiosis concept, which was the circular practices within an industrial context between industries. Then we moved to industrial urban symbiosis, so we can integrate also urban flows, urban material, energy, and water flows into the industrial symbiosis. And then we have the hub for circularity introduced by European Commission in order to integrate all these technological advancements into the region. So this is a very brief slide about the hub for circularity. Our main hub is in Attica. Next slide, please. In the framework of this project, we will have a lot of mechanical and physical technological solutions that they operate, of course, under digital and data modules. And we will have also digital tools that I will present you in the next slide. We give no, thank you. Let's go to the previous. Thank you. Yes, let's keep for a while here. As you can see on the left, we have very complex and many flows, material flows, that they are combined together. I mean, it's not so linear that, okay, we have a waste and this waste will be used to an input. This can be very complex, more complex than this. As you can see the screen, we are trying to retrieve waste from all urban industrial sources, and then we have developed computer vision systems and robotics in order to make more clean subflows. So we will install 5 sorting machines within the projects for textiles, for urban waste, especially packaging materials. So all these systems, they seem to have a very high potential, because as you create more clean flows, you can also take the more valuable elements. For example, if you are able to sort plastics, which is a very, very special and difficult flow, you can create an added value that before was maybe on zero. For example, PETs are very exploitable for recycling and for reusing. Next slide, please. Let's go to the digital very quickly. According to the digital tools, of course, here we have 2 great challenges. The challenges when you create digital tools in order to create circular economy facilitation is not the actual development, is to find out data in order to train all these models and in order to have useful tools about all this. And the second challenge is to convince people that are involved and stakeholders that all these tools have value and they should be used. These 2 challenges are greater than the development itself. I mean, in development, okay, in the community of the digital tools and in the engineers, we have all the time advances in the models, in the algorithms, in an AI, in technologies. So it's not a technical problem anymore. It's about how you convince the people. So some examples that we will integrate into the regions are, of course, GIS tools, because we have the spatial dimension, the dimension of space when you have to handle with a region. Also, we have developed matchmaking algorithms in order to our machines through AI to evaluate all this information about potential waste and potential knowledge from other practices all around the globe, and automatically match and propose synergies. Also, we have a lot of tools about prediction and about logistics, which is another area of great challenges. And of course, the digital product passports also collects very valuable information and creates a very detailed map of the value chains, not only a high-level overview, but also to understand how all the materials are moved, are combined, what they produce in every stage. So you create a granularity that is exploitable in order to optimize all the solutions and all the procedures. Also, we have mixed reality application for the workers that they work on all this. And augmented reality applications. We will also develop some augmented reality application in order to engage people and policymakers in order to participate actively in the regional tools, digital tools. The point here is that Hub for Circularities also combine the regional science principles. So all these tools, they will not be faced as digital novel tools or sophisticated. Okay, they have AI, they have all these models, but the important here is that when you have the possibility to collect all this data from all around the region and all around the processes, you have to information for the policymakers. So the policymakers, they can have some valuable insights. So you have to transform data, raw data, to information, and the information to knowledge, combining several aspects. So in this case, in the Theseus project, we will try to create real regional value on these tools. And we are not facing these tools only from the view of engineers. I mean, we prefer to create some tools that they are not so smart, so sophisticated, but they will be valuable in order, for example, the regional authority to play with the matchmaking symbiotic models and all the system propose all the synergies around the area, around the map of the region, and then prioritize somehow all these solutions in order to form strategies. For example, in an island, in a region that is an island, the water is more critical than other sources in the mainland. Also, if you have some kind of infrastructures in some region, it's another story what you will prioritize. And also, you have to combine all this with the regional strategy. So, especially for the matchmaking and symbiotic models that you see here, we will apply regional science principles in order to the system to be able to identify what is critical for the region, and we will perform this for Attica region as a first case, and prioritize the solutions not only about the technical excellence of the solution or the potential use of the waste, but also the solutions that create value, social or environmental or economical value for the whole region. So we are, and I'm finishing because I think that I will be almost in my time. The critical here is that we have to expand all this data into valuable information, and all this information applying all these regional science approaches, transform this information to knowledge and decision support for policymakers, and involve, of course, the authorities, which is another great challenge, to not only see their political agenda or their existing agenda, but also advise all these systems and use them to create regional value. I think this was my brief presentation. I hope I showed, and thank you very much.
Thanks to you, Babis. That was great. Then we'll follow with our next speaker, which is John from BCG AI company, which is a leading company on the artificial intelligence for the circular economy. So if we can go to the next slide. Yeah. Then up to you, John.
Yeah, so hello everyone. My name is Jon. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of BCGI. We are a Stuttgart-based data company primarily with a very strict focus on industrial circularity and bioeconomy. So what we are doing, we're developing the most sort of comprehensive and real-time data pipeline and knowledge base in terms of all the regulations, markets, and technologies that are affecting the circularity in development in the future, and how can we apply that either within a scope of one particular company and their material flows, or even on a level of one particular region. And we have been now operating as a company for the past 3 years. We have deployed BCGI now in over 18 countries and regions in those 18 countries in Europe, North Africa, and also now starting in the US. So happy to share more insights today, and let's see how this can also be applicable to your regions in the future. Yeah, so if we look at the space of circularity in general, there is a lot of opportunity within it, both from the perspective of impact and the perspective of supply chain resilience, and from the perspective of new opportunity for business in the region. But at the same time, there is like very fast evolving technology landscape where new approaches, new technologies are getting piloted, go to demo, go to industrial scale, fail, succeed, and so on. That again imposes risk in terms of what type of circularity are we going for, as well as that there is a very fast and different evolving markets that are there either to support a certain type of circularity or not, or certain projects, yes or no. And so that's why we built BCGI, where we can take in this sort of real-time data and real-time insights from both, as I mentioned, regulations, markets, and technologies, and figure out, where is the supply and demand component? How can we match that supply and demand using all of the latest technological advancements? How can we use this data to actually validate what will most likely work, what will not work? And to identify, the right stakeholders across the region, but also across Europe, for example, to actually implement those processes and those technologies in the market, in the regions moving forward. Next, please. So the baseline of where we start usually is from understanding the supply and demand. So what we built is a predictive model that allows us to map all the different side streams and biomass that is generated in the region, but also the demand for the different production inputs across different market applications. So everything from materials, chemicals, ingredients, and so on. And we built a data set of about 3.5 million companies at the moment all over Europe, where we can, based on publicly available information of those companies, figure out what type of feedstock, what type of side streams or biomass and so on they are producing, as well as what sort of inputs they would need. And so how this works when we start a collaboration with one particular region, basically we don't need any data from the region themselves, but we built up the data set where it allows us, that within a certain regional scope, so let's say Bavaria in Germany as one of the states, we can basically figure out what are all the different feedstocks options, prioritize those that are in larger volumes and that have like a higher value add potential, as well as to figure out the resource needs in the region so that we can, on one end, not only solve the waste issues or the side stream issues, but also how can we ensure long-term local supply of really important resources that our other industries need. And based on this, we can then also generate this sort of heat maps and figure out, who are actually the companies in the region that can participate in these like high impact circular supply chains and projects that can be developed within the region. Okay, next. Wow, what is this formatting? All right, so this is not how I send the files, but hopefully, let's go through it. So the main part of what we built is what we call the BioLink agent, which allows us to basically understand how the feedstocks like side streams, technologies, products, and market applications connect. And so that is something that allows us, to capture all the different possibilities to be applied to the different waste streams that are available in the region, or to the different resource demands that are available in the region. Should I wait? Okay, it's the same. All right, but it also allows us to understand how mature a certain pathway or technology is, how much market potential is there. Are there signals coming from the market that are saying, okay, this type of material or this type of ingredient is actually something that is getting more and more demand and it's worth investing into, as opposed to something that's different. And so we can benchmark and prioritize all these possible pathways. I think that by now we generated over 25,000 of them. But we can also then find the right partner. So both on the local side, how do you connect the dots between the supply and demand there? But technology, maybe this is not something that is actually available in the region, but that shouldn't be the problem. Like, we can have technologies that are developed in Germany also be applied in Croatia or in Spain. And so here is where, we can have both this local matchmaking component, but also bring international technology or producers or off-takers into the mix, so that we can figure out what are the best models that are there in the region applicable. And the last point that we do, so we continuously look into the directives and regulations and process that data in a way that allows us to anticipate where is the future demand for materials going to be. So let's say that there is now some regulations that are banning a bunch of chemicals in the market. All right, so that may be like a strong demand driver to focus on using our side streams in the region to facilitate the supply to those markets. Or it might be that a certain type of waste is no longer going to be able to be processed in our region because of these new directives. So that can get then deprioritized. And so this hopefully just paints the picture in terms of the complete type of data analytics that we are generating, so that we can really accelerate and de-risk a lot of these circularity strategies and projects that are getting to the market, and hopefully develop that further. So this is the data side of our company. But because with the success that we had in terms of implementing VCGAI data solutions in the regions and in the industry, we also got to the point where there were a lot of projects that actually stand out of it. Next slide, please. Okay, and so what we did is that we now support everything from concept to industrial implementation of actually these projects. So we have now partnered with a company in the Nordics where we are together investing 10 billion euros into industrial circularity. So how do we bring concepts of supply chains and concepts of projects into real life? And where we are then also making sure that we are de-risking and turning these projects into being able to actually finance them. So here we have multiple projects already in the pipeline. We have here just a couple examples of the different projects that also stand out of our collaboration with Maribor, that we are also supporting now. So for example, how do we convert the spent yeast into active ingredients and proteins? Where it's going to be about 50 million euro investment, but also, for example, how do we turn the byproducts of the biogas industry into actually useful ingredients? That's going to be about 35 million euro investment in Benelux region. And so this, I hope, serves also as a proof of concept that in terms of the data analytics that we are generating, there is actually an actionable output that achieve, and that can bring additional investments into the region, that can generate new jobs and new revenues for the region, to not only stay on the strategy level, but that we can also support every region in turning these strategies and actions into real life impact and real life industrial activity in the region. Yeah, so maybe just lastly, as I mentioned, so we already deployed now in over 18 countries all over Europe. We have done it with the food and beverage industry, fertilizers, chemicals, fuels, construction materials. So across the board of different material intense, let's say, industries. And we were last year also selected as one of the 50 companies that received the EIC, that were awarded the EIC Accelerator as one of the really top tech projects in Europe, also supporting our further development of our data models and of our analytics to support your circularity. and who we are. So basically, we are a team that put together data science expertise with circularity expertise and bioeconomy expertise, so that we can really generate like high quality and reliable outputs. We are a team of 16 at the moment, but growing, and happy to support all of your further circularity activities. I'm also putting here in the chat just a link that you can also have a look on our website. And if you would like to follow up, we can set up a short call and figure out, how we can actually support your journey and how we can make sure that circularity becomes reality. Thank you.
Thanks to you, John. I must say that the technology that you have developed is quite impressive, and that we can't wait to hear from the perspective of Maribor how this project, sort of project development assistance has worked on their case, and we really appreciate your presentation. And now, next up is Steven from Vito, and I won't take much more time, so let's give the floor to Steven and welcome him.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Steven. Thank you for the introduction and the opportunity to present in this webinar. You can go to the next slides where I will first introduce Vito a little bit. You can go one further. Yes. So within Vito, we are the Flemish Institute for Technology and Research, and we focus mainly on 3 impact domains, where we have on the one side the regenerative economy, the healthy environment, and the resilient ecosystems. And you will see that, our research for cities and that focuses also on the built environment fits perfectly within these 3 impact domains. If you can go to the next slide. These are some facts and figures about Vito. You see we are a multidisciplinary institute where we have almost 1,400 experts, 40% female talent, more than 300 international employees of 17 nationalities, and we also focus on PhD research as well as research related for companies and industry. If you go to the next slide. So here I want to first start by giving a little bit of context. You see the different trends that we can observe that, we will become more and more populated. We will need more and more energy, but what we want to achieve by 2050 is that we can do it in a neutral way. But in order to do so, we will also have to increase our material use. And we want to do this in a sustainable, circular way. If you can go to the next slide, you see here then the context on the built environment, where you see that the built environment is responsible for 40% of the energy use, which then in its turn corresponds to 36% of greenhouse gas emissions. Also 50% of the resource use, which then relates to the material use, and where we see a huge potential to still use digital tools to increase the circularity of this resource use. 32% of the waste production and 33% of the water use. Okay, if you go to the next slide, you see here that in this context, there is already some circular aspects of material use, but we still see that there is a use potential. And that, for example, for the built environment, there is a really big gap between ambition and reality, because we don't seem to be able to increase our circular material use. And this is one of the main things that we want to increase within Vito and support you to be able to do so. If you go to the next slide. Here you see, for example, the transition that agricultural sector went through. On the left-hand side, you see how they were picking a potato field in the 1900s and how they do it now. It's very much more efficient. However, when it comes to constructing a roof, you see that there hasn't been that much change on how this occurred over the last 100 years. This is also reflected in the next slide, where we see that for the construction sector, there isn't that much added value that has been achieved over the last 100 years. And we want, with our team within Vito and also together with different European partners, we want to change this. And in order to do so, I will now present some European and some local projects where we are involved in and where we want to leverage the data that is present to increase the circularity within the built environment. If you go to the next slide, we have listed some of the European initiatives that will come our way, where we are also from a Vito side closely involved in. But you see that they increase the data burden quite a lot. So you see here, for example, the BPD legislation which was approved last year. Then this year you have the eco design framework and the digital building the digital product passports. You also see the smart readiness indicator which will be included and so on. So you see that there is a high burden, and for example, we at Vito are convinced that we can find solutions. For next slide, please. So here, for example, you see how we support several projects where we build upon the concept of digital building logbooks, where we want to create a repository and collect all the data that is available for different for the building. And you see that there is a high demand, not only from, for example, a life cycle assessment, but a BIM method, but also from EU policies, which I listed in the previous slide, but also, and this links then more to the circularity aspects, where we want to get a data demand for waste material data and how to better use this waste material, that it isn't waste material, but it becomes an input for a next cycle. You go to the next slide. You see that this data demand is also present during or over the entire data supply chain, and it goes from product level to building level to even a corporate level. And you see that this data will need to be streamlined and will need to be accessible by different partners. And there we want to create a certain standard in this data to further support developments on this data. If you go to the next slide. This is the Discover project. It is a European project under the umbrella of the Horizon scope, where we look at how robotics can, for example, support BIM model of buildings. And then if you go to the next slide, how this BIM model can then support, for example, strategies for demolition, how these buildings can then support material bank development and create or elaborate on the urban mining potential of the different buildings that are present within the European context. If you go to the next slide, there we will focus on the Demo B-Log project. This is a European project that focused on building logbooks, and where we focused on 4 different aspects of how building logbooks can support different steps. So here you see, for example, that we supported 2 companies to create user-centric automated renovation advice. There is one German company that we supported in the establishment of decarbonization roadmaps at building levels, but even for mainly focused on bigger players. So, for example, social housing corporations, which have a large portfolio of buildings. And then we support here in Flanders the Woningpas, which is a platform for community-driven decarbonization projects. And then finally, We support Sirdax, which is a Dutch company, but also established in Belgium, on the multi-cycle circularity approaches for construction material reuse. If you go to the next slide, here you see a more local project where we support the local city of Soersel, and we try to translate the data that we have collected in the 2 previous projects and to help them optimize the use phase of the building, so to say. So we try to establish a workflow for predictive maintenance for them to know when the building is in use, to also optimize the operational impacts of the building. Then if you go to the next slide, you see here then that as the first speaker in the session also introduced that we try to leverage the data that we have on geographical format, that we can perform an analysis of an entire neighborhood and assess different renovation strategies. And here you see, for example, if you would want to replace all the windows in a certain neighborhood, you see the materials that would come out of it. So you see at the top the wood, the plastics, and the glass material flow in tonnages. And then in the next slide, you would see the input of the necessary materials and where they would occur. So in conclusion, I hope that I've given you a good overview of the different projects that we do here at Vito, and how we are convinced that data and data workflows will support circular aspects within the built environment. Thanks a lot.
You sure have shared a very comprehensive overview of the different services, and let's hope that indeed digital tools help us overcome the energy and materials challenge, as you mentioned. Now next up is Claudia from Circle Economy. If I'm not mistaken, Claudia, you wanted to share your slides, so feel free to do so.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I mean, I know we're a bit over time, but let's see if we can do this fast. So that, because I have a video, so let me know if you see the slides.
Yeah, we can.
Perfect. Hello, everyone, and thank you for inviting us. I'm Claudia Lesio, working for Circle Economy. We are an associated partner, but we also are contributing to a few CCRI projects, and we're also currently working with the European Investment Bank on the Circular City Advisory Program that maybe a few of you have heard. We're taking a bit of a step back. Our digital tools are mainly driven by knowledge sharing and knowledge creation. We are a think tank that works on the circular economy globally. And our mission is the one to empower, I don't know if the slides are changing, yeah. To empower nations, cities, and industries with different data, tools, and knowledge to put the circular economy into action. So the digital tools that we're now going to present are more related to monitoring the circular economy, learning about different circular economy projects around the globe, and training as well. We are a team of 60 experts working in across different industries and in different teams, again, focusing on cities, nations, but also more related to financing. We just released our Circularity Gap report for the financial sector. We work on textiles and different global value chains, but the idea is that we are only 60 people, and digital tools can really help us accelerate the transition and really achieve more cities and across the globe and expand on the reach. The impact that we had so far is working with different business and organizations, cities, nations, training different people, and resulting in over 19 circular city strategies or plans. We have developed 10 digital tools so far. Not every tool has been successful, so there has been many failures along the way. And today we're gonna present 3 that's still standing and that help us work with the stakeholders that we engage with and that we have included in our projects. For example, for the European Investment Bank, we are working on training city officials through our digital platform, Circular Academy. That is the last tool that I'll present. And why do we do this? Well, we are a think tank based organization, so we gather knowledge and we want to make that knowledge accessible to as many people as possible and make it actionable. So for this, our tools are available for use for everyone and they're online. The 3 digital tools that we currently have are the CCRI dashboard, that is basically a web page, a dashboard with different circular indicators that is a way to breaking down silos of knowledge and democratizing this data. So it can be used mainly also internally for cities to showcase different data points that often are in different parts and different Excel files into one specific place. We also have a knowledge hub, so case studies, a repository of case studies to inspire local actions. And as I mentioned, we have a training digital tools that empower people to drive the transition. I don't know if you can see the video. Hopefully it runs in the back, but this is the dashboard. As you can see, there are different clickable elements that you can go through, and mainly this is a way for us to concentrate data and knowledge in one place, both from a qualitative perspective, so really insights and the narrative around the circular economy and why this transition is important, but also from a quantitative perspective. So really asking cities or other stakeholders to input their own data, their own indicators, so that we can collaborate to create a benchmark for collaborating on circular economy. And in this case, also AI is something that we're looking into, mainly for extracting data from different reports that cities can provide us, but also to generate a report that is easy and shareable after this dashboard has been created. And as you can see in the demo, we also have an integration with the Knowledge Hub. So our repository of case studies that you can find across the dashboard, but that also lives in its own environment. You can see the link on the slides, and it's basically a way to break down this lack of evidence and sharing of different circular economy concepts. Is a repository of case studies that has like different tags, so you can, for example, look for digital tools specifically. So I also invite other people here and other colleagues to maybe add their case study on that Knowledge Hub so that cities and other stakeholders can find them. And as of now, we have over 5,000 case studies covering over 100 countries and a dedicated cities collection. So if you add the /cities, you can find specific case studies that only relate to what cities are doing. And last but not least, our Circular Academy is basically a platform online in which scope so topics that align either with an industry or a city goal. You can select or create a learning track. It's done in a way that is gamified, so it can be used also, for example, in the context of workshops. So that's what we normally use it for also internally. And the results of this training track can be measured, so you can monitor the participation of your team or the people that you wanted to reach and wanted to train, and how much they know about the circular economy, so you can also tailor subsequent tracks. So we are basically co-creating this with cities in different projects, and we wanted to basically present this to you so you can maybe reach out and see what kind of digital tool you could collaborate also within different projects, because at the end we have a history of a digital journey, but the input from cities is definitely something that can help us improve and have a greater impact so that everyone can access this knowledge online and for free. So if you want to learn more about these different tools, let us know, and I'll also add the link to the video for the demo of the CCR dashboard into the chat. But now I think we all want to hear from the city, so I'll leave the floor to Maribor.
Thanks, Claudia, and thanks for sticking with time. We appreciate that. I think that the three tools you presented are very complementary to what other speakers shared today, and that in general, all of them are very helpful for different policymakers that may be present here today. And let's now go into the following session, in which first Igor from Maribor will present their experience working with BCGI, and then he will outline the different current needs and priorities of the city regarding the use of digital tools. And then we'll open the floor for speakers and for everyone in general to share ideas on how these could be addressed. So Igor, floor is yours.
Thank you, Anton. I would be really happy we had this workshop like 3 years ago when we were starting our CCRI journey, because it will help us a lot with the development of the strategy and action plan. But unfortunately, we didn't have these tools available. I'm really happy that we do now, so that this progress went as rapidly as it did. In our case, as Jon already mentioned, unfortunately, we already had developed the strategy and the action plan before we learned about the progress of VCG. But we are now collaborating in development of some new activities. And what our experience so far is, it really shortens the time needed to come from the question to the solution. And this is something that really helps in development a lot. We tested this on one material stream and then on the other, another one, just to see where it goes and how it. But what is really good is also that enables you to see what kind of technologies you need, what kind of materials you need to create the business model. And so on. So I would recommend everybody to do the demo, and then they will see how they can use it, if it's for something good for them, for us. So far, it's been fine. What we learned from this process, that digital tools can help you, but if they are not available, you are losing a lot of time. And this is the main thing. When we were collecting the data for the preparation of the strategy to see where the focus points are and where things should go, we struggled really because they were not sometimes available. We had to write the emails and then so on. So one of the projects in our action plan is also to make official data available for the regional level. So we could have like a national level, local level, but if we want to put 41 municipalities that build Podravia region, then we should go step by step every municipality with the data, put it in our Excel sheet, and it was really time consuming. And now with all these tools, and hopefully our government will also do the regional filter on their database, we will be able to develop faster. We will be able to develop more accurate and more data-based. So this is really important when you speak with the stakeholders, that you have reliable data backing what you are proposing and what you are doing. As I said, in our case, part of the team from Podravia region is now part of newly formed Slovenian Circular Economy Center, which started working this year. We will incorporate all our knowledge gathered in the CCRI into that process. The center started this year and will be operational till 2030. So everybody is welcome to contact us, let us know. And yeah, we will continue to use the tools that are already being developed and presented. Hopefully some more advanced tools will be developed in the future, but what we have now is really a huge step forward to where we started the CCRI journey. Thank you.
Thanks to you, Igor. So what I take away from what you said is that these tools help you essentially to identify where were your needs and then how to better improve the general structure, and that one of the main current priorities or needs looking forward would be data availability, which is an issue we've been seeing in our experience with several cities and regions. So let's now ask the speakers and everyone that wants to participate, as we do not want to go over time, if they have any reflection, any idea, or any potential solution.
Maybe if I just can add, in Slovenia, there is an ongoing project with the climate kick called Deep Demonstration. And one of the results of this project is so-called Policy Lab, which we are using to test some of the solutions that are, let's say, borderline with the legislation. And we know some of the projects throughout Slovenia are already being pushed to this policy lab. So maybe this could be one of the also solutions for others. It could work fine, but we also raised the questions of the data availability through that, because policy lab is basically several ministries of Slovenian government working together. So we can, when the ownership of the problem goes to the ministry level, we can then come up with solutions. And this is something maybe that is helpful. It's not directly connected to the digital, but it's more of the operational.
Thanks. And well, Babis, I was about to give you the floor because there is a question from before asking about the stage of the platform. So feel free to reply and to share whatever you were about to say.
Yeah, thanks, Felipe. About the state of the platform of the solutions. Okay, we have developed a lot of similar tools in previous projects from Horizon 2020 to some Horizon Europe, and in every case, in every new project, we are trying to involve to play to higher TRLs. So I would say that the design and the research and some modules are already running in previous projects. About Theseus, all the final solutions will be available after next year. But in general, in all the domains I displayed, we have functional demos or functional solutions that are modular and we can facilitate in other regions as well. I mean, we are trying to have a holistic process of our projects and combine all this research. So I hope I covered the question. And I have a comment to say that I will insist in this. I shared in my presentation that the huge challenges are not the developments themselves, are to convince authorities to participate and use all these tools. For example, in Greece, we have the municipality of Athens that is very advanced and participates on this. But we have also other authorities that they are not interested on this. And maybe I'm just giving a personal idea that European Commission should give not a jurisdiction to CCRI sites or to Hub for Singularities, or why not a jurisdiction to do things, but also give direction to the ministries that they should be advised all these projects around, because sometimes we feel that like they face us as romantic, out of the planet scientists, and not actually researchers that they are trying to do applied research. So maybe European Commission should consider to give some directions officially to the states, This was my comment, and thank you for listening.
No, thanks to you, absolutely. I think you replied the question perfectly, and thanks for those insights. Well, there's several policymakers here. Let's see what they think. And now, Elmar, I see you post a question in the chat, but would you like to take the floor?
Possible, just for a second. Thank you very much for all the presentations. Just a question towards Igor and the Moldavia region. Did you effectively use the VCG AI tools and methods and support, or it was not completely clear? And did you manage to get an overview of the whole region, or do you say it was still very much well, a very broad picture, or was it a very detailed picture? That was my question. And then secondly, are you able to maintain the flow of data and to regularly look into the progress that's been made, or was it a one-shot exercise to effectively work with the data from the regions and the municipalities, and then have a picture and then work on that? And didn't it proceed any further then?
Well, as I mentioned, we basically had already the strategy and the flows developed before we learned about the platform. So development that Yondad did. We tested on one material stream to see if we were right, but we didn't retest the strategy, to be honest. But from what we learned from testing the stream, it works both ways. So either you have a stream and you are looking for what can you do with it, or you have a vision of the product, and then you can go like backwards to see what kind of stream in what quantities you need, and also what kind of technologies you have to use. So Emma, as you know, and we know each other, just test it. It will bring the results, sometimes surprising ones, but it is a really helpful tool. I would recommend it really well. So it worked. Unfortunately, I think our strategy could be a bit better also with the data base and so on and so if we had this earlier, but it didn't make any sense to redo the strategy once it was accepted by the regional council, because this is then the political process that takes its time and so on and so on. So we decided not to do that, but not to reopen this thing, but we tested this. It works. It's fine. And this is why we also recommend it to be presented here. So
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. And as a last question,
maybe I can just quickly answer the second question. So yes, basically we have like weekly updates on all of our data sources and all of our data pipeline, so that we can keep that up to date. So just quickly.
Thanks Aldo for the clarification, Jan. As I was just saying, I'll give the floor for a very last question to my colleague Antonio, and then we'll wrap up, as we don't want to take much time.
Yeah, thank you, Felipe. No, there's a very final question after listening to what Babish said about there's not a technical problem anymore, but it's rather, convincing people and policymakers to know that these tools are valuable and they can be applied. I would like to ask Jan, because in the end, I think he presented today that he's been quite successful, and VCG as well, in approaching several policymakers and regions, and we have the example of Igor here. So I don't know, Jan, if you could maybe share some insights on, was it normally that the regions approached you, or in a way you marketed VCG in a way that it seemed appealing to policymakers, and how this interaction kind of developed? Because I think it could be quite relevant, considering that, as Babish said, it's probably the biggest problem right now.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a mix of both. I think that like from the perspective of projects that had the most success is where the regions were already convinced that circularity is one of the important topics to work on. And if there is this sort of commitment coming from the region, then much more is possible than if there is something that's like, okay, it's a topic, but we don't really care about it. And so that's, I think, the first bottleneck. The other topic is this, like, how do you actually move to having the industrial adoption of these circular practices of the companies in the region and so on. And there, what we see is that there are like a few main drivers. A lot of it is coming from the material demand, actually, instead of the supply, where if there is demand from the perspective of there is increasing scarcity of those resources, availability concerns, because they depend on imports from a different part of the world, or if there is some sort of like regulatory pressure or like climate targets that these companies have, then things move much faster. But I think that it should come from the intrinsic motivations of the stakeholders, not from somebody trying to push it onto them, that this is something you need to do because it's circularity and because it's cool. Like, I think that doesn't work. That doesn't lead to any like really impactful results.
Thanks, Jan. And if there's no further reaction, we'll wrap it up. So thanks everyone for having attended the session. Thanks to the speakers, and I think this was very insightful. And we'll share a follow-up with the minutes of the session, the slides, and the links to everything that was presented here today. And that will be it. So thanks everyone, and see you soon.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.